Order. This is a special meeting of the Cupper Lake Watershed, Forest Lake Watershed District. It's on the 29th of October. It's a little after 6:30. And I think we have most of our members here. So why don't we start the meeting? And Mike, can you do a roll call for us, or do you want me? I can do that.
I can do that. President Schmalz,
Here.
Board Member Lowe,
Here.
Manager Anderson,
Present.
Manager Taves,
Present.
Manager Baki.
I'm here. Thank you. So we have a full quorum, so that's great. Is Mike on here yet? I know he's attending.
Looks like he just,
Yeah, Mike looks like he just came on.
Yes.
Mike, you want to say anything before we get started, or should we just turn it over to Emily and Yanni?
Yanni. Nope, you can go ahead. Thank you.
Okay.
And I would just turn it over to Yanni to kind of lead us off here.
Great.
Sounds good.
Nice to see everybody. I think I got feedback from everybody in our time away from our last meeting, which is super helpful and just, you know, shows the buy-in and the alignment on everything we're trying to kind of do here. So it's good stuff. I want to take a couple minutes and just kind of go through the agenda for today, just so everybody has some general understanding of what our goals are, takeaways, things like that. You know, we'll do a quick little overview of just vision and mission, the difference between the two statements, right? Why we're kind of producing this stuff. I think everybody should have a pretty general idea of what that is and the importance and value that comes from both of those and having alignment within the entire organization. So we'll start there, and then we'll do a pretty in-depth kind of review of the feedback that was provided. I think there's some consistent takeaways. I was lucky enough to get some really solid feedback and kind of suggestions from the staff, which I want to kind of bring to the board and see how everyone feels about that in regards to the vision side of things. Once we kind of go through that and we start to feel like we're pretty close to where we need to be, you know, hopefully we can kind of call it, put the line in the sand and say, like, this is a vision statement we can all stand behind, we all feel good about and move forward on. Once we get to that point, the goal would be to kind of move over to the mission side of things. Once we kind of go through, I have a couple examples of mission statements that everyone has kind of brought forth and sent to me over the last 2 weeks. I'd like to go through those, read them again, start the kind of process over. Now, hopefully at that point, we kind of have that North Star in regards to the vision statement to lean into. And then we'll discuss kind of next steps and close. But that's what I have on the agenda for today. Any feedback, any questions, any other kind of things that need to be brought to our attention or kind of bounced around here outside of kind of what I just mentioned?
I think you hit the high spots. We're certainly interested in any feedback that the staff had to what we've done so far. So that would be interesting to see.
Sure. Okay, great. So general overview, mission and vision, right? The kind of the driving force behind any organization, any business, etc. Vision is what we want and where we want to be. Mission is more oriented into how we're going to get there. I think we've made some really great progress on the vision side of things. I think I'm going to kind of kick this off with just some basic themes that have presented themselves in regards to the vision side of things, and then kind of bring forth some of those staff takeaways and suggestions in order to see if we can kind of get some alignment here. Okay, but you know, the statement that was presented is: we see a future where our community is informed and engaged in improving our ecosystems and natural water resources for generations to come. I think from a thematic perspective, there was a couple little kind of just small suggestions, right? A lot of it was kind of wordplay. I would like to just kind of open the floor for a couple minutes here, and instead of going through each person's suggestion one-on-one, now that you've sent that to me and kind of sat with it, is there anything that anyone feels very, just feels strongly about in regards to the statement that I just read, and any particular words or format or anything like that, that could potentially be problematic.
I think there's,
Yanni,
oops, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, can we have the vision statement projected so we can see it again?
Sure.
Thank you. I will. Thank you.
Of course. Give me 1 second to just pull this. Okay, everybody see that okay?
Yep.
Great.
Can we comment now? Are we ready?
Yes, yeah, please do. Floor's open.
Okay, all right. I haven't been able to really work on this for the past week and a half because I had surgery, so I was really goofy with drugs, drug cocktail, I should say, lots of drugs. And but I have, these are kind of the same things I said before, I think, but maybe a little more honed. I think we need to be capturing all of the purposes that the district was founded in, and I think those are really important. And one of them is flooding, especially mentioned as private property, but it's really flooding anywhere. But the other one is the partnership with our local government units in consistency across our boundary areas, so that we have consistent rules, we have consistent enforcement, and that people can expect the same outcome when there's a problem, no matter where they live in the watershed boundaries. And I think there's a way to do that. I was just scribbling some things today. I'm glad to hear we've got more time to work on this, but I'm looking for something shorter, something that is more focused on those things, but with few words, so that it can be a repeatable and a memorable thing for people to understand. So that's my comment right now.
Okay.
I do want to thank Manager Taves for sending the examples that he did, because some in there are really close to the feel of what I'm trying to accomplish, and I appreciate that. So thank you for pulling those together.
And just for clarity here, we're speaking about the vision statement, not the mission statement.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's
great.
correct. Yeah, there were a couple of examples in here when they were combined. And I think that's kind of a good thing too, but the vision statement, I think, has to incorporate who we are, why we exist.
It's more so about where we're going or what we're trying to build, right? Painting that particular picture. Not so much who we are, but how are we going to impact, and what is that picture that we're trying to paint in regards to the end result.
Are we still talking vision, or are we on mission?
I'm talking vision. We're only talking vision right now, everybody, just for clarity.
All right.
I will be super clear when we transition into the mission side of things.
Yeah.
Let me throw some feedback out there on behalf of the staff here. And again, some of this is just kind of summarized, so please understand that. I think, there was general agreement with the message. There was just, an emphasis on not overcomplicating. We don't need to let perfect get in the way of good, right? Making sure that we have something to stand behind and move forward with. Um, you know, there was a general consensus to kind of remove the word natural from natural water resources and emphasize collaboration with the community, suggesting that the responsibility needs to be shown as something that is shared between the district and the community. Um, and using a passive voice to kind of keep it aspirational yet relatively neutral. I'm going to drop just kind of a revised version of this on the board here. This really quick. Okay. So the original one that we kind of toyed with last time, right? We see a future where our community is informed and engaged in improving our ecosystems and natural water resources for generations to come. Staff improved or staff kind of, adjusted would be a future where our community is informed and engaged with the district in improving our ecosystems and water resources for generations to come. So again, this is very forward thinking. It's the goal is not to encompass who we are, right? Mission and values will bring a ton of context to this and who we are and how we do this or how we get here, if you will. But from the vision side of things, I think they both do a pretty fair job. Any feedback, any suggestions on kind of the staff side of things here?
Yeah, one of the criticisms I had of the vision statement we achieved last weekend was the fact that it basically sounds like we're putting everything on the community to do the work we should be doing. So we would leave ourselves open to criticism that we're asking the community to do all the heavy lifting and we're not involved so much. That's kind of a harsh statement, but the rewrite of the staff approved version gets around that. Because
Sure,
it
I agree
engages us
100%.
with the informed, so I think that takes away my concern that I had about the original statement. So I feel pretty good about what I see in front of me right now with the staff improved version.
Okay.
Yeah, I had something very similar to this that I'd written down this afternoon. Our community is informed and engaged with us in improving and sustaining our natural water resources and their ecosystems for future generations to enjoy. I didn't like ecosystems coming first.
Okay.
I like the clean water part of it better. And it could be clean water instead of natural. I agree with that part too. Because we have some unnatural things that are part of our system
Sure.
from about
I think-
100 years ago, so.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. I think, clean was definitely a part of like kind of the initial drafts. I think the consensus among the group was that, clean is not really measurable. Clean can be healthy, water that's clean doesn't necessarily need to be clear. Like there was some, I don't know, a ton of subjectivity, right, associated with that one particular word that I think people wanted to start to kind of pull away from. But-
I want to challenge that just for a minute though. And that's a technical response. And we're talking, and we're talking about citizens. And they know clean water. I don't think they're expecting pristine. I thought that was a pretty tough word, but clean, they know clean water legacy. They vote for it. They voted for it. They want clean water so they can swim and fish and do all their recreational things in. So I don't have a problem with that. I think the public's going to get it.
Sure. Any other feedback on the kind of staff updated version here?
Just one further comment. If no one else is going to talk, and that is a community is broader than just the people, the citizens. It's the partnerships that we have. It's the local government units. That's really who we're working with. And so that to me, I'm working on something that tweaks that more so that it's obvious, but it's short and it's memorable and people can get the picture of what it's really all about. So that part I agree with. We've got to keep it, on point, but community is maybe too broad because that would be interpreted for just the citizens, I think. So we should work on that, maybe that word. Oh, okay.
I think it is, in my opinion, is all inclusive to people.
Looks like manager lost connection while he was in the middle of his statement.
How does Webster define community?
Can you repeat that for me?
I was asking how, I see community as including the constituents, the direct constituents, plus our partners. But I was just kind of curious, is there a definition in Webster dictionary on what community means? Not that it's right or wrong, but it'd be interesting to see what they say about it.
The word community generally refers to a group of people who share a common location, interest, characteristic, or goal. In different contexts, it can mean different things. Geographical community, people living in the same area, like a town, neighborhood, watershed district, or a connection, or are connected by their physical proximity. Interest-based community, individuals who share common interests, values, activities, such as environmental communities, focused on water conservation, culture or social communities. And then in broader terms, community represents a network of individuals who support and depend on each other for shared purposes, goals, and responsibilities. This is a little nuanced based on you and who we are, but you know, part of me agrees that like when people think of community, yes, maybe the layman's would kind of gravitate more towards the citizens. I think if we are intentional with our mission statement, right, and we bring aspects of how we're going to get this done and how partnership through other organizations is important to us and how we kind of yield this or yield results, I think, again, we're bringing context to it. I'm struggling to find another word for community that would really kind of embrace everything. If anybody has any suggestions, that's fine.
Well, the broader term definition actually includes the local governments, LGUs, because it talks about working together. And so basically that means that we have to have, our way of working together is with the local city government or the county government, right? That's the way,
Sure.
It's the broader definition.
We don't have to decide this tonight though, right? So we're just taking ideas and incorporating those as we go along. Is that correct?
This would be the third round of that. So
Yeah.
I would really like to kind of dial this in tonight and be able to move forward. It's 4 in-person hours and then a ton of individual time spent on this. We've done a few feedback rounds from many different people. I think, from a majority perspective, like we're there, we're not far from where we need to be. I know the impact that particular words have in making those subtle changes do kind of, they drive us closer to where we need to be, but still, you know, I'd like to just kind of go around the room and just, you know, based on that staff improved version, like where is everybody feeling in regards to that? Ms. Anderson, I know your feelings, and I know you weren't able to be with us last time, and I'm being sensitive to that, but I would like to just kind of do a little round table here to see where everybody stands in regards to this. If this is
Could you-
something that people can get behind or not.
Could
Hey,
you
Yanni.
just,
Oh, sorry.
could you just clarify, when you say you've talked to a lot of people, what do you mean by that? You mean staff or who do you mean?
I mean, just the board. A lot of this is coming from the board, and then getting feedback from staff, and then feedback from the individuals that are a part of the board in a more, I guess, a more personal, not so time constraint setting, right? It's one thing to provide feedback in a roundtable situation like this. It's another thing to take it home, sit with it, think about it, right? Put your thoughts together and be able to put it forth.
Can I throw something out?
Yeah, I think Chris has something to say real quick.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris. Sorry, that's yours.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you could maybe communicate some of the perspective of staff in removing the natural out of the vision statement, and kind of what their thought process was, or kind of like why they thought that enhanced the vision.
Sure. Be curious if Mike or Emily can kind of chime in on that. That'd be great.
Yeah, Mike, I can address that unless you'd like to speak more on it. What I had sent to Yanni was kind of an abridged, very short summary. It wasn't a very long discussion, but staff discussed on Monday, and I think kind of like what Manager Anderson was saying of, there are, the natural features, which, the natural resources, which kind of align with the mission, but there's a lot of unnatural things that need to be addressed as well. And so this kind of more encompassing term of water resources is what we're envisioning that we are dealing with.
Thanks, Emily.
What if we were to take, Manager Anderson's idea of the water resources being first? What if we were to switch those two around, saying that engage with the district in improving water resources and their ecosystems for generations to come? Is that getting a little bit too?
I think that's what I have down here, that redo I read.
Yeah, and I kind of support that thought also, because I think we started with water resources, and it's still, if you go back to the document that set up the watershed, that was one of the key initial focuses. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it should come before ecosystems, and in our 10-year plan, a lot of the ecosystem system that we're trying to achieve is coming as a result or a side benefit of what we're doing for water resources.
Right.
For example, flooding, et cetera. So to make it first rather than second, I think doesn't do justice to how we've been operating in terms of our current vision and goals. But the other thing is that water resources by itself implies to me drinking water. And I'm not so sure that we're involved in that as much as we are with natural water resources, which would be the streams and the wetlands and the lakes that we're trying to preserve and improve.
We're also looking at groundwaters though.
Groundwater, but that's
Hydrology and that stuff.
right, but that has to do with preserving the source of the water. It's not so much how we treat the water, and we're not getting into the well treatments and all the sanitation treatments and all that kind of stuff, but I'm not sure we want to get into that entirely, but it's up for the board to decide.
And Steve, where did you think that was coming out? In what wording? Water.
Sorry, could you repeat that again?
Yeah, where did that concern emanate from? What words? Water resources?
Well, when you took the word natural out, I think it opens us up to the idea of making sure we're chlorinating the water, we're treating the water.
Mm.
You know, and I'm not sure we have a strong interest in that area. There's a lot of other people involved with that. we're more involved in the natural resources, water resources, which is the lakes, streams and wetlands that I think we've been focusing on. And
Mhm.
groundwater to a certain extent as a feed to a good clean water and the supply of water. But that's a lot different than worrying about how we're gonna treat the water and et cetera, in terms of drinking purposes.
Well, we have the vision statement, then we have the mission, which is gonna start doing some of that, and then we have goals and strategies and all this stuff in the 10-year plans. We got plenty of room to pull
Well,
all
further
that stuff
clarify
back
that,
in, yeah. I think we can find a way to make this trickle down in terms of, specificity.
How about if we did this? I start out, I don't have that a future where, I don't have that wording at all. But our communities, if we put a plural in there, and that means both our government and our citizens. Our communities are informed and engaged with us in improving and sustaining our clean water resources, or just take that out, and put water resources and their ecosystems for future generations to enjoy. So that's the
Can
same
you-
as the last one. Mhm.
You just engaging, and then we're just
Our community, our community is informed and engaged, communities, excuse me, is informed and engaged with us in improving and sustaining our clean water resources and their ecosystems. In improving and sustaining our clean water resources and their ecosystems for future generations to enjoy.
I don't think we need the word there, do we?
President Schmaltz.
No, we probably don't.
I think Chris Lip had something to say, his hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Thank you, Yanni.
let's like make Yanni the chair, because he's kind of running the discussion, so we don't have to go through me to recognize speakers. So let's, let Yanni run the meeting. He's got the agenda and he's been doing a
Sure.
good job in getting people involved, so let's let him handle it. And
I appreciate
obviously,
that,
one of the
and
board members.
And I just want to, I just want to apologize on not understanding everybody's full title just yet. So if I say first names, last names, things like that, just bear with me as I continue to learn that. But Chris, you had something to say, by all means, the floor is yours.
Yeah, it actually goes to the point of the their statement. I think we're being too specific with ecosystems. I think there are ecosystems that aren't part of water resources that kind of fall into the scope of our work. And just to kind of go back to what is first, I think we all know that a watershed is dealing with water. And I think that, you know, the watershed for 25 years has focused on water resources or water, you know, the big lakes and rivers that are visible and seen by the public. And now we're kind of shifting our work towards things that are maybe less obvious to the public. So I recall the purpose of us leading with ecosystems was to kind of set that bar or remind ourselves and the public that it's just easy for us to go to water, but it's much more involved than that. So I'm just trying to keep that in mind, if that's an accurate recollection from our work last session. I don't want to lose that perspective because I think we spent a lot of time on that, and you know, I don't want to discredit the Manager Anderson or Manager Schmalz because they've been with the organization for so long. So maybe it's more ingrained in their perspective, but so I guess that was all I wanted to share.
Okay. Okay. Sounds like this one's out. Okay, so I'm just gonna make some general assumptions here. First one I think is out. Okay, that was the initial one that we presented. We have some better versions of it. Again, I think the one big thing that might need to be carried through is emphasizing ecosystems on the front end, natural resources on the water resources on the back end. We can discuss that. But
Yanni,
Just kinda
before
go-
you throw that one out, may I comment?
yeah, please.
I like the beginning where we begin with, we see a future. It's kind of like, I have a dream.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we want to inject the emotionality of that into this, but I like that part of it. Because we are projecting a vision. We are saying, this is what we would like to see. And when we take that out, and with the staff's version, it's not a complete sentence. Which bothers me as an old English teacher, a retired English teacher. And but Manager Anderson has provided us with a complete thought, a complete sentence. But again, I like the we see a future part of it. That's my comment.
I have to agree.
I do too, Dave.
I have to agree with that. I like that too. Either one of those could start, of those two left, where our communities, yeah, we see a future where, put the word where in there, because it's gonna be needed. Where our communities are informed, engaged. Yeah, I like that too. See, I have to step,
It's an action step also, which is nice
Yes.
to have.
yes,
It's a commitment.
yep.
Yeah.
I have to step away for just a few minutes, but I've got everything on. I'm gonna be off video and off audio for a minute. About 5 minutes.
Okay, so it sounds like we all like the starting this with we see a future. Is that correct? That's kind of the lead in here. I mean, I can change that with all of these.
I think so, but if anybody wants to speak up, go ahead.
Kind of like the third option though.
Okay.
Down.
I kind of like the third option too. It stands right now.
So ensure communities are informed and engaged with us in improving.
Chris, I know you feel, for some reason, you feel ecosystems are kind of taking the forefront right now, but I think if you look at our 10-year plan, that's certainly not the case in terms of the priorities. And then I'm just trying to bring forth some proof points. If you look at the establishment, the contemplated improvements that were set up when we first set up our watershed district, it talks about water resources, first of all, flooding, secondly, and then enforcing regulations and et cetera as a third point. So it doesn't even mention ecosystems, which is not all bad, because ecosystems are certainly mentioned in the watershed district 103, whatever it is, charter for setting us up. There's 14 different things we can work in there. So when you look through those, we need to pick out where our focus is going to be. Emily, do you have that chart of contemplated improvements?
Yep, we can pull it up. We also printed off, some copies at the office as well. Yanni, do you want me to send you a link and you can pull up that document?
Sounds great.
That was one of the attachments that was part of the meeting background, so.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, Steve. I don't disagree with you at all. I think we have to we have to, we all know where we came from, what our purpose is. But this is, from my perspective, a statement for the general public to understand what we're doing, and it has to kind of stand on its own. We can't go back to, the public isn't gonna want all the details as part of the vision statement. So, it's a horse apiece, in my opinion. It's just a consideration that I had because, you guys have been so heavily involved with the work that's been going on, and, we're
Right.
kind of shifting our priorities. So I feel like, the vision, having that reflect that as much as possible would be good.
I'd like to
But as
say,
you
Oh.
look, go ahead, Manager Anderson.
yeah, I'd like to say something about that, though. I think that in order for the lakes to be healthy and the rivers to be healthy, you have to look at their contributing areas, their ecosystem that surround them. And so we may not have used, we've used that word before, but that's really been our philosophy of approaching, is to look at their entire sub-watershed of each of our major lakes. And so we are working on the ecosystems before we actually get to the water body. So I think it says, and there's enough sharp people out there that have been following, climate change and all of that, and our understanding that, water is connected. I mean, it's everywhere, but it's connected everywhere as well. So I don't have a problem with that word myself, but if you have an issue, do you have another word that you might like to think about?
Yeah. So I appreciate your perspective, and sorry if I start to cut out, I don't know what's going on, but I completely agree with you, and I know that we know what we're doing and the ecosystems, and with respect to the tributaries and how the water flows. But your comment about connectedness is exactly why I recall us including ecosystem, because it comes back to the guy fertilizing his yard in the city.
Exactly.
Right? We want that person to be thinking about the watershed, right? We
Right.
all live on the lake. We all see the lake regularly. We're all engaged with lake associations. So it's second nature to us. But I want the public, the general public, the community, which the more of the community lives away from the lake than the community that actually does live on a lake or an actual water resource that they can see every day with their naked eye.
That's true.
So I guess that was my thinking, and that, I thought that we spent a fairly significant amount of time last session kind of talking about the connectedness, and that's where the genesis of ecosystems came from, and prioritizing that so that everyone kind of feels a sense of being significant to this overall cause. But I think it's strong either way, to be honest. But I guess that's what I'm thinking is the reason for putting ecosystems first. But
Okay. Do you have do you have any comment if we changed our sustaining our ecosystems, for example, and make that your ecosystem to imply ownership by the public?
I think that separates us from them.
I agree.
It does. Yeah, it does. We want it to be part of it. So, but anyway, that just was offered as a thought.
I like that concept of connectedness, and I think that's something we should put in a column when we start talking mission statement, because that's something that really could resonate with people who want to get into this
Yeah.
process.
Well, that's where we could
Okay.
talk also about, the philosophy of the 4 major sub-watersheds.
Mhm.
I mean, that's where we're getting into the how-to, right?
So
the connectedness belongs in a vision. Sorry, Yanni.
you're good. Keep going. You're fine.
I was just going to say, I feel like the connectedness is more of a visionary part of what we're working on, as opposed to the nuts and bolts of the actual wrenches that we may turn and things that we may leverage to accomplish our work. So, and to me, ecosystem, I think I recall pulling up the definition, and it talked about the the connectedness of everything that exists in a system, a community of living organisms interacting with their non-living physical environment. So, I mean, that could be, non-living environment is like a street, right? And streets
Right.
are such a huge part of what we have to consider when we're trying to figure out the water that gets contaminated from the street that ends up flowing through people's yards or into ditches. So,
How about this? How about if I'm looking at that last one, mine, it's, we see a future where our communities are connected, comma, informed and engaged.
to get rid of ecosystems?
No,
no.
just leave.
Oh,
We're adding
just
connected
separate.
here.
Okay.
Connected was your big word, your big thought and concern. How about if we add it there?
That was yours too, and it's good that we all are thinking about that, and
Yeah.
you know, whether it's
It's a good thought. Yeah. What do you think about adding it there? Does that bring that connection that you're looking for?
I'll chime in here. I think we should be trying to take words away as opposed to putting words into it. I think if we have a consistent voice or lens through the word our, right, that connectivity is probably implied. I think we're talking holistically, collaboratively. This is our community or the communities that are a part of us. You know, the connected aspect, I think as long as there's consistency there, I think I don't think it's like a super impactful term, if that makes sense. I think it's applied.
Yeah, but I think I do think it's important for this reason. The water problems before watershed districts is a political issue because water crosses political boundaries and you run into all kinds of issues. That's how we started. There were all kinds of issues with one community doing something that the next community downstream, you know, couldn't handle or didn't like or whatever. So I think this discussion is important. I think that we want to be connected. That's what watersheds do, is you form a watershed and you bring together all these political entities and you work together on water issues. So I think it's important. I'm glad you brought it up, Chris.
How do you feel about the strength of the word connected versus engaged? If you had to pick one or the other, which one would you pick?
Well, I'd leave them both in.
Well,
We
that's
don't
not
have-
the question. The question is which one is strong, because Yanni's trying to eliminate words and our, you know, is a pretty strong statement in terms of connecting us. So the question is, how much does connected add when you've already got our there versus dropping out the word engaged? I think
Because,
it's a lot stronger than connected.
well, I don't agree with that. I mean, we could put our in there and it doesn't matter. It's kind of a nothing word. Connected means something. And I think that point that Chris raised is a good one.
And
I don't think adding that word is going to overburden this statement.
I'll just invite everybody to look at the last one I just added. So I took a couple words out, and I think we see a future where our communities collaborate and engage with us in improving. That connectiveness, that collaboration, I think is voiced there. It's a couple less words. Again, don't need buy-in, just another example.
Yeah,
I like it.
I think
Yeah,
it's
I
less.
think that's kind of
I-
the definition of connected and informed. Collaborate probably that's what the definition is, in my opinion. So actually you reduce two words and you put it in one, which is good.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it. I like that word informed being in there because I want people to understand their involvement is important. Unless you tell them, they're not going to assume. Not everybody's going to assume that.
But I think we can pick up that maybe lack of clarity in the vision when we talk about our mission and the actions that we do when it comes to education and outreach that directly speaks to engagement. So
Yeah.
I do like the last statement.
Okay.
Someone can be informed and not collaborate. And that's kind of the problem we have right now. A lot of people are informed, but we're not getting much collaboration on natural shorelines.
Yeah,
So it's taking you that decision to the next step. You gotta be aware, informed, you know, and then finally make a purchase decision, but it takes a while before you get to that purchase decision. Buy in or collaborate. So, it's farther down the line.
So,
So if I can jump in,
yep. please do.
collaborate and engage. Collaboration in itself is an engagement, so it's kind of a redundancy that I see. And if we're trying to eliminate words, what if we just say communities collaborate with us? Because collaboration
that.
is that act of working together, being actively involved, give and take.
Can I just put a word up there that keeps coming to mind as we talk about this? It's just interdependence is another thing that comes to mind. I don't know if it's any better or belongs anywhere, but maybe it'd be redundant. I don't know.
I think we know what we're trying to say, right? I think it's wordplay a little bit, honestly. I think the impact and the effect of both of them is probably pretty similar. I'm gonna allow everyone to just a couple more minutes here, go around like these two options. One's a little simplified, one goes into a little bit more depth. I think that depending on what everyone says, this might be a good transitionary period to just leave these two up, focus on mission, and see if we need the depth of some of those terms in a, like while we have them like our mission sitting underneath it. Everyone might say, oh, here's our mission, we believe in it, right? It aligns perfectly with our vision or the essence of our vision. You know, we need the detail here, right? We need these three words, or we don't. But I mean, any other input or feedback on these two here?
Well, my understanding is shifting in this vision with this latest wording that we have with collaboration, because before I was thinking in terms of we are informing the community, we are showing them what our best practices. We are the holders of the knowledge and the wisdom. By adding collaboration and removing inform, we are now moving to a place where we're working with the community. And we're not the holder of the knowledge. It's a shared proposition where our community can share with us their knowledge and wisdom as we impart our knowledge and wisdom. So collaboration is a whole different meaning to me than informing and engaging.
Which one do you like better?
I like the collaboration.
Why don't we just take a straw vote? Just, we can leave them both up there, but let's see where the board is. Just take a straw vote on A versus B.
Can we have some other comments before we take a vote?
Absolutely. I'm just seeing where we stand before we leave it
Well,
open. And
yeah,
start
but
all
I
over
think,
the next
I
meeting.
think we should hear everybody's thoughts before we take a vote, though, a straw vote.
Great.
I'd like to, anybody else want to talk now, or should I weigh in?
Yeah, go ahead, Manager Anderson. You have lost time to make up anyway, so you
Yeah.
should get more time.
Okay. Well, I appreciate what Manager Baki said, and I understand that. I really do. That's a good position. But I think for us, you know, this is the vision statement for the watershed district. And this is what we envision. And part of that vision is also making a commitment. Because if you look at that wording, connected, informed, and engaged, those three things, that's our job. Our job is to provide that connection, you know, through the meetings that we have with our civic leaders and so forth, plan projects and all of that. information obviously is ours to do, but it's also a responsibility of the public's. So, and there's an awful lot of information out there now about waters and clean water and climate change and all of that. People are more and more informed on their own. And so that's sort of a double thing. And engagement certainly is a two-way street. You know, we have to set up the sessions and the literature and the messaging and all of that so that people want to be engaged, but they have to actually show up. They have to actually want to be engaged. So I see that as more of a statement from us, but also a invitation for the public. So those are my comments.
Anybody else want to comment?
Yes, if I may, just to piggyback on that, I think of the terms of being the sage on the stage or the guide on the side. You know, what role do we need to play as a watershed district? And I think that's something we need to consider as we look at collaboration. We're inviting the community to work with us. We're willing to listen to them, to get their feedback, their knowledge, their wisdom, and also share ours. And so to me, that's more of a positive relationship than trying to be the disseminator of wisdom, knowledge, best practices. I mean, certainly that's what we should do and we will do. But when we say we're going to collaborate, it's more of an invitation to come talk with us. We'll listen to you, you listen to us.
I'm kind of liking the A option, that as much as I'd like to get that down to half as many words, I'm liking that concept of connected, informed, and engaged. And here's what it triggered in my thinking. It wasn't until the farmer up the road from me had it pointed out to him that his feedlot was polluting the neighbor's lake downstream that he even thought about the problem. All of a sudden, he was connected between his behaviors and the problem downstream. Now, we talk about our watershed ultimately ending up in the St. Croix. We're connecting ourselves to the St. Croix. That's pretty abstract when you think about that piece, but we keep using that phrase. So we are connecting from each point to the next point, to the next point, to the ultimate destination. I think that connectedness comes through the information and the information that we pass out to other people, and then they become engaged with us, and that understanding then triggers behaviors that improve our ecosystem. That's where my thinking came out of it. I didn't want to put one more word in there, but those three in sequence for me somehow rang a bell. So
I'll offer my one. I'm feeling Manager Baki's position a little bit more at this point. Now that he's talked about that, I feel like when you talk about informed, it's like there's a hierarchy there that I sense, like we're informing you, you're less because we know everything and we're going to tell you what to do, where collaboration sounds much more of like a meeting in the middle or meeting of the minds type activity, where it's a true partnership, I guess.
So I misunderstood. You said you were supporting A first with Manager Baki's statement, or no?
No, Manager Baki is supporting B, I believe, and I'm also feeling his reasoning a little bit more. It's resonating with me a little bit more in the sense that when I hear about informed, there's a little bit of rigidness to that. I think about like a teacher talking to students type informed, where I think what we're trying to accomplish is more of a mutual kind of respectful arrangement. And I think that collaboration encompasses those types of feelings more than the informed or engaged. Obviously, we're going to be engaged. So when you talk about engaged, we're again assuming that the community is the other half of the relationship. And I do like this. I like the fewer words too.
we have to make sure that the collaborate doesn't end up taking us to the lowest common denominator.
Mhm.
In that collaboration, we have to be the ones that do informing and connecting. If it's going to be a valuable collaboration. Just a random thought there.
Okay.
But
I'll
I
make the
think
full-
that's assumed, and then we'll talk about in our mission how we'll accomplish the collaboration.
I'll make the last comment then, and I'm gonna reference something that just happened yesterday. Blake Roberts is running for mayor, and he attended our shoreline trip we did, and I spent 2 hours with him after that trip, hearing about all his objections to our shoreline restoration program. How we didn't have the gall, we shouldn't have the gall to tell people how to use their property, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, after we provided him as a candidate, a better understanding and background on shoreline restoration and why it's important, et cetera, in his statement about whether he liked it or not, he actually has turned around quite a bit and was very supportive, to my surprise, except for the last sentence, which was subject to the individual landowner's right to use his land. So that's where the collaboration, I think, is important, because these people have a position, it's their land. We can't do any work on any project, as we know, without having the cooperation of the landowner. So that's why I think collaboration is something we've been doing on all of our engineering projects. We spend more time on collaboration in some cases than actually doing the project. So I think that's a good word in terms of just seeing what's happened with Blake Roberts here recently in his statement. So I found that interesting.
President Smalls.
I don't know if you looked at his statement, but I was flabbergasted by his change in, supposedly changed in position. We'll see.
That's exactly where I'm going. He's gonna be very straightforward and candid during the pontoon ride. When we're asking him to be a political and provide a political answer, he's gonna meet. So I wouldn't take I guess I'm not so convinced that there was like an aha moment that happened in the last few months.
But he still brought up the fact that people do have a right to use their property where they want. And so that's something that collaboration.
Well, that's not true. That's not true. I mean, there are rules in place that say that you can't do this. Now, whether or not we convince them to do that because of consequences, or whether we do that by education, I think that's something that we have to figure out, kind of a mutual point somewhere in the middle. But I don't know. A political statement, I don't think is too meaningful to me. He's just trying to get elected, so.
Well, he gave that big out at the last,
Exactly.
yeah. So I'm
Well,
all
it's a
for it
real out, but we have to respect and.
until I'm
we need to
against it.
earn the confidence of the shoreline owner. So anyway, what does that leave us? Were you keeping count, Yanni?
We're split 2-2. I mean, if you're on the B side here, then we got 3 on B and 2 on A.
Okay.
Okay, I'd like, see if Mike's still here. I don't think Mike's here. All right. Okay. I think. Does anybody feel like super strongly against the one they did not vote for not being it? Of course, we all want it, right? Compromise is, everybody loses in some way, shape, or form. With a good compromise here, I don't think that we need to like buckle down and put a line in the sand one way or the other today. I would honestly like to bring this back to the staff, right? Get some feedback from there, and kind of, instead of keeping it more so open-ended in regards to input, etc., just a very objective this or that, and seeing kind of where we land. But I guess my question for everybody is, if you didn't vote for A or B, could you truly not live with that being the vision statement for the organization if it did get, if it was to move forward?
To me,
Well, you
A is
wanna-
just a little more clunky to me.
Say that one more time.
I think we've already stated our opinions, on this, but your question is more of an emotional or
Sure.
cerebral question on whether you can support one or the other of these two. That's your question, right?
100%. It's more
Okay,
focused on the
whether you
finance
think it's the best or not, could you support one over the other depending upon where it lands?
So why don't we each answer that question so we know where we stand? I can support either one.
Are we going around? How do you want us to go around and to say this?
Let's just go around.
Okay, well, I could support either one. I have a preference, obviously, but I could support either one.
Okay.
Same for me.
I can support either one.
I'm good. I think they're both great. They both really give us a direction
Mhm.
as to our vision.
Let's see how the mission falls together, and it might kind of help guide that.
Yeah,
that
right.
top
Yeah,
phrase.
Good point.
I agree with that. Okay. Great. Good progress. I'm gonna take these out. Okay. Okay, moving on. To vision, just want to make that super clear. I asked everybody to kind of provide some ideas of what a potential vision or mission statement could look like here. I want to just take some time. You know what? Let me just do this. Can everybody see a Google document, not a Google sheet? Just want to make sure everybody can see that okay. It should say takeaways, second session on the top left corner.
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
great. So everything that's highlighted here, I just kind of extracted some of the suggestions in regards to the mission statements. I do want to just kind of go back to the difference between mission and vision. As mentioned, and I'll just kind of read exactly what I sent to everybody here. So vision describes the future we're striving to achieve. It's aspirational, it's forward-looking, represents the ultimate goal of the organization. Mission defines the organization's current purpose and what it does on a day-to-day basis to serve its stakeholders. It focuses on the present actions that drive us toward our actual vision. Okay, so let me just kind of play up that here.
Yanni, can I ask a question? Yanni,
Yeah,
can I ask a question? If you look at a mission, I thought we had talked about that's kind of what we would be doing. And then the values would be how we actually accomplish those goals.
sure. So if we think about a mission, right? It's again, it's still a statement, doesn't need to go much further than that. Values of an organization support the vision and the mission. Values are things that we stand behind, right? They are single words or small phrases, 1 to 3 words that we value. And they are, again, a common thread that's woven through everything we do, everything we propose, every action we take, how we communicate with our communities, etc. The initiatives, which that's where we kind of move next, right? Is okay, well, if there's a financial aspect to the organization that needs to be kind of dialed in, whether it's budgets, whether it's income driven, etc. Again, that's not so pertinent to you. I'm thinking this more through like a business lens. We understand what the metrics and key performance indicators, right, that are necessary, and making sure that they align with milestones or initiatives that also align and roll up to and are validated by our vision, our mission, and our values. A huge piece of what came up in our first time together was this new, not new, but this alignment amongst all of you and a desire to market, to educate, right? Move agendas and education out to the public, so it's not just us in a silo doing the work and then them doing something in their own kind of silo. Mission, vision, values is going to be the root of any marketing initiative or any agency that you hire to help you kind of get that word out, etc. It's also going to be that North Star for us, all of these together. Again, it's, the mission aspect is taking our vision and bringing it to almost present day, or with a more kind of attainable mindset in regards to a time period, let's say 5 years, 10 years, something like that. And using that to essentially validate how we're going to get to that longer term, more aspirational, forward looking vision that we've presented. So we have some examples here that everybody kind of chimed in. If anybody has anything else, I'm happy to write it up on the board. Like, we are starting from square one here with this. Just know that. I think all of our activities and everything that we've done on the vision side is going to help expedite some of this. But again, we want to make sure that it aligns and that it rolls up to the vision beautifully and seamlessly. But I'm just going to go through, I'm going to read our current mission, and then I'm going to read a couple of the 4 suggestions that we have. I'm going to allow anyone else to kind of give us some input. And then we're just going to kind of open the floor a little bit, right? And start to see where we migrate as a group in regards to our, our desires, what we feel strongly about, and etc. So our current mission is, the mission of the Comfort Lakes Forest Lake Watershed District is to protect and improve its water resources through adaptive management and education of local stakeholders. Stephen's kind of adjustment here, or what he brought forth, one of them was protect and improve water resources, manage flooding, preserve special natural resource areas/ecosystems, and educate local stakeholders for supportive action, all for the benefit of the community for generations to come. That's one option. Another one will be, we will use science, technology, and observation in the implementation of differential diagnosis to identify threats to our ecosystems and determine the most cost-effective ways to remediate those threats. Next, the mission of the Comfort Lakes Forest Lake Watershed District is to protect and improve its water resources, improve preparedness and emergency response capacity to flooding, and implement a greenway corridor to improve landscape resiliency. And then the last one was, our mission is to protect and enhance our ecosystems and natural water resources by being leaders in watershed work, leveraging innovation, adaptive management, and education/outreach, empowering our community to be informed and active stewards. I think these are all great, and they all kind of hit that action-oriented granularity that we're kind of looking for. But yeah, floor is open. Everybody chime in. If you're on Zoom, feel free to raise your hand. If not, that's okay. But this is just an open discussion about some of this stuff.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, I thought that the mission, vision, and values of the Washington County was on their recent strategic plan was very good, because they start out by saying that the mission tells us what the county does. The vision tells us where we are going, or the end state that we're trying to reach, right? The star, North Star. And then the values tell us how to do what we're doing. So I see a lot of what in here, but I also see a lot of how mixed together. Our original statement combines both of those. It combines what we're gonna do very narrowly to water resources, but it talks about the values of adaptive management, et cetera, in terms of how we're gonna do it. So I think that's the first thing we need to clarify, what's in and what's out in terms of what and how. Just as a guideline or a thought.
Steve, can you rephrase that? I wasn't quite following your
Okay,
train
so
of thought
if you
there.
look at the original mission statement, is to protect and improve water resources. That's what we're gonna do, but it's the only thing we mention. And then the rest of it is our value system of how we do it. We do it through adaptive management, education, and stakeholders. So I'm trying to separate those two out. I think that what should be in the mission statement, based upon what Washington County did and what Yanni mentioned, is that it has to be more of what we're working on a day-to-day basis over the next 10 years. And then the value section, which would be the next section we work on, would be adaptive management, cost control, 80-20 rule, all the things that we believe in terms of those things that make us different from how other people do things and successful. So some of you've got some of both, some of the people, I think Chris, yours is more in line with what I did, was basically what we're working on rather than how we're gonna do it. But there's a little bit of everything mixed in on everybody's statement. So we need to agree with Yanni's direction on, what's in and what's out in terms of what and values, because values will be the next section as I understand it. And it's very clearly done in the Washington County one-page statement that they have. Have you seen that? Doug, have you seen it? It's right there, and then it's. Oh, yeah, I didn't see this one. That was in one of our earlier packets, wasn't it? Yeah, that's part of the packet. Yeah. Yeah.
Does that, here, let me see.
Do we need to put together a list of our values
That's the next step, I
to
think.
kind of pull them out of the mission statement? So we don't muck it all up?
Well, Yanni, I think your question was, what do we keep? What's an important part of our mission statement? And I think we've all landed somewhat on that, what is in the current mission statement, that first line, which is to protect and improve its water resources. I mean, that needs to stay. And I don't know if everybody agrees with that, but that is essential to our existence based on statute. So to answer your question, that's a part that I believe needs to stay.
Here's 3 that I put together. They're towards the bottom here. Again, they're pretty detailed. in my opinion, I kind of liked the second one out of the three. But I want everybody to just take a couple minutes. I'm gonna just kind of leave this up. I hope that everybody can kind of see it. If you can't see it, just let me know and I'll blow it up. And I
What
want
you-
people to just extract phrases, okay? And we can start there because I have resources and software that I can use if there's phrases that we feel strongly about or words that we feel strongly about. I have a tally on the left-hand side of some terms that could potentially turn into values for the organization that have just been kind of coming up based on our conversations. So I think that would probably be a good start. I mean, there's a lot here, right? And again, some are more detailed than others. I do agree that our current mission, like, it is a mission. The adaptive management and education aspect of it is kind of how we're going to do it. I think it's missing some of the detail of a lot of the stuff that we've discussed over the last 3 meetings together. So it might need a little bit more detail, but yeah. So why don't we start there? Start to read through some of these, see if there's phrases or words that are impactful, okay? Keep note of them, and then we'll kind of go around the room and I'll start to kind of tally a list. I can then take that list and use it, put it through some couple different softwares to be able to generate some mission statements that align with a lot of that.
I can't read the bottom one. Can you raise it up a little bit more? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Of course.
You want to hear what mine is?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, this is rough. It's not as short as some of these, but maybe we can pull some of that into values. Our mission-
I just have to
Okay.
slow. I'll type it out.
Okay. Well, I didn't start with that. Don't start with that. It's through establishment of programs, projects, and processes to accomplish our clean water goals by using solid scientific research methods, adaptive management protocols, and sound economic principles as foundation for prioritized, targeted, and measurable public works through creation of 10-year action plans. You want me to start over? Where are you?
No,
There?
you're okay.
Okay,
Emily is
processes.
way faster. I think
Okay.
she got it.
Okay.
I just put it in the chat, if you can see that, then Yanni can copy paste it.
Okay,
Yep, we got it.
thank you. Yeah, so add that to the mix. I like all the others. They're a little shorter than mine, but I like what everybody else has done. I think I'm especially line number 188. Is that Chris's?
Yep.
Okay. I don't see anybody else's name, so Can you put those names in that little box?
Sure. Scroll up, we've got.
Oh, there we
quite a
go. I see, I see. Okay. All right. Yeah, I could live with any of these, honestly. I think they're all good. Because we're going to have details other places.
Yep.
So,
So my only question, again, coming back to this idea of what we do versus how we do it. Are we gonna have a value section? And then if we have a value section, isn't a thing like, adaptive management and et cetera, would be in the value section, I think. But that's what I'm trying to wrestle with right now. Leveraging innovation, adaptive management, would be traits, I think, or that are values that we're trying, that would have been successful for us in the past.
So Steve, is this kind of like what you would like us to have as?
It's not what it's just, I'm trying to understand how do you differentiate between the three? I think, and that's why I'm asking Yanni, if you look at here, these are characteristics or attributes that we as an organization want to have, right?
And there's collaborate.
Collaborate, right?
Yeah, that's good.
So, right now, our existing statement contains both of them, which is not bad. I mean, but it's very restricted. We're doing more than water resources. We're doing flood management. We're gonna be doing production, other things that are in that. And we have a list of 13 things that we could work on, 14 things from the charter,
From the statutes?
from the statute. We're not all doing, all those aren't equal priority, so we have to pick what we're gonna be working on. The 10-year plan basically kind of covers what Chris and I have in there.
where's Steve's again?
He was right here. Line
Okay. Preserving
6.
special natural resources, areas and ecosystems, educating local stakeholders. One of the other foundational items was to control pollution in our lakes, and that incorporates nuisance or AIS product or AIS invasions. Prevent flooding, he's got that, and then assist local governments in planning their surface water management efforts. Bringing that collaboration back in.
Can Yanni chime into the what versus how question that Manager Smalls is asking?
Yeah, I think it's, again, these all move or will be held equally, all right? And they all serve kind of different purposes that all roll up into one particular outcome. And the outcome is direction. That's really it, right? Long-term, midterm, and then day-to-day values that we are always holding top of mind as we make decisions, as we set forth plans, as we manage one another, as we educate the public, etc. The values should be, our organization, Cultivate Advisors, we have 8 values. And I bet you the majority of the staff can probably vocalize them right off the cuff. What we do and who we are and what's important to us. Entrepreneurial is probably is the top one. That is what we do. Everything we do needs to be entrepreneurial. So those values, yeah, they can be a part of the mission. They can be a part of the vision. There's nothing wrong with that. They also don't need to be. But again, it's another subset of this entire exercise to be able to help align and get everyone that's a part of this organization bought in, or everyone that's a part of our community bought into it. In my opinion, there should be a place on our website that vocalizes all of this. What are the values? What do we stand behind? What's important to us? Those are not going to be long, full sentence phrases, right? Or full sentences. They're going to be one words that just embrace what's important and where we're going and what's important and how we approach different decisions, etc. But I don't know. all of these are good, honestly. Like they all kind of hit the mark here. They all bring a little level of detail that I think is needed from the initial mission. You know, I don't really think we have a mission problem. I think we had a vision problem of like the longer term things and how we're going to do it. The mission is, you know, of how we do it. I guess to like poke holes in this, like, do we exclusively use adaptive management to improve water resources? Are there other ways that we're doing that?
It's a
You know,
combination.
education.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
combination of things.
Yeah. So,
But those,
you know,
but those are guiding principles of how our district works.
sure.
That makes us different from other districts. You know, I think the question is where do you see these going? Is it part of the mission statement, or is it part of the values that we operate under?
Those guiding principles is what you're saying.
Yes.
I mean, the guiding principles, can you give me a couple examples of guided principles that exist and have been ingrained that we have?
Well, we use solid scientific research methods. We
Okay.
use adaptive management, which has been protocols, which has been mentioned. Sound
Operator
economic
principles.
principles. And,
Okay.
and this is how we hone ourselves down to the highest pollutant sources, the biggest problems, so that over the last 15 years, we could attack the largest volume of damage to our lakes and our rivers and our wetlands and our farmlands, and get those cleaned up in a quick manner for the public to understand that it can be done more efficiently than in the past, and for less money than they think, because we're attacking the real sources of the pollution. So that, you know, that's kind of the philosophy behind it all. But I don't know where to put those under this scenario. So to me, they're values, but they can also be mission accomplished kind of things. This is how we want to do things.
Emily, could you
Sure.
send Yanni the one-page Washington County strategic plan summary? And put that up. It's very easy to see, and then that'll help everybody see what we're trying to argue here or discuss.
Yeah.
While Emily's doing that, can I ask Yanni a question?
Yeah.
I guess from my perspective, our watershed is very unique in the way that we approach our work, and we're kind of, I think I consider the association kind of a trendsetter, or kind of a push the boundaries, do things that we're not followers, I guess, we're leaders, and I feel like we're different than a lot of other people. Do we want to kind of include, is that important to include in any of this? Like, if that's true, if that's something that is accurate and a reality, is that something to kind of convey through a mission or values, or is it more of just kind of the nuts and bolts type things that we do?
I would very much make that a part of our mission. I think it's important for people to know that. In my first conversation with Mike, like when we asked him, like, where, like, just bluntly, where do you see this? Like, what's important to them? Like, you know, you have people working for this organization that have the mindset that they can be the most progressive and cutting edge watershed in the nation, right?
Mhm.
That's their mentality. So if that's important to the people that are putting the day in and day out into this, I think it's important to voice that through definitely the mission. If not the mission, then it can be a value, right?
Sure.
Being thought leaders in our industry, like that is something that we value. You know, there's other terms that we can, you know, just unconventional, creative, like there's things that cutting edge, like those are all quick little terms or phrases that align very, very well with values.
You're saying
Sanderson,
it
like,
another way, from an industrial aspect, you have a set of core competencies. And those are in many respects your values. The core competencies establish your competitive barriers, which allows the pricing, allows you to get a higher price earnings ratio. So that whole value or core competencies is something that really should differentiate you from everyone else. And that's what I hear the board saying right now. we do a lot of things that are different that set us aside and it speaks for the results we've achieved. So I think we definitely want to highlight that because we need to get credit in the marketplace with our community for having those competencies. Yeah, okay, Emily's got that up there. If everybody wants to take a look at it. Have you seen that before, Yanni? I don't know whether you've looked at that or not.
Yeah, I mean, this is a wonderful way to present this information,
Mhm.
right? It's clean, it's to the point, it all rolls up into one. It's very clear on the purpose of each of them.
Even the
You know,
graphics are great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's, I mean, this is super professional and done very well. You know, and also like, I mean, you see it sometimes, again, like we're playing in a sandbox here that's not really too, I don't know, it doesn't have many guardrails, honestly, because most businesses or most organizations approach this through a very different lens. You know, there's some consistency, but it's also very vague and there's a ton of subjectivity to all of this. But I like you know, the values of how they're being presented. You know, here's the word, and then here is how that word is important to us. I think it gives you another, I don't know, just another lever to pull to be able to incorporate some more information in alignment with the public or with your communities.
And I think the what, where, and how is easy for the public to understand.
hmm
And so I don't think we want to mix them if we're going to do this, you know, so basically we don't want to have some values that are in the mission statement. I guess we could, but I think we should try to keep it as clean as possible. If we're going to try to communicate, but that's for the board to decide.
Well, I agree with that statement. I think that, I think some of the details, you know, can be listed as, this is where I struggle, because values are how you want to move forward, I think, interacting with your community. I mean, that's what it means to me, how your ethics basically are going to work. And not the practical side of what you're doing. I mean, for example, I really like Chris's statement. And it talks about innovation, it talks about being leaders, it talks about all of those things from the very high, you know, 50-foot level, which is what, you know, the rest of has done as well. But maybe we can pull out all of those independent things like you're doing over here on the left and look at those separately. One of the things that I didn't put in here, but at the very beginning, the first Citizens Advisory Committee, for example, that we had, their main goal was to restore our waters to pre-development conditions or as close as possible. Most of the damage in the water comes from land use changes. And so it wasn't to stop progression, but it was to do it in a more sustainable way. So is that a value maybe that we want to bring our waters back to pre-development conditions as close as possible? Because that's been one of the driving impetuses for using innovation and all these other tactics, so that we weren't spending 100 years cleaning these things up. We wanted to do it within decades. So where would that go? Would that be a value?
I think it's a goal.
A way to
Okay.
convey that through a
What we
value
wanna
would
do.
be sustainability being a value, right? And whether it's progressive, whether it's all encompassed by doing things through the lens of sustainability always,
Mhm,
I think is
mhm.
important. I don't think we need to
Okay.
go, and then if it's sustainability and then colon and then an explanation, right, of our
Mhm.
goal to bring back to that particular time period
Yeah.
of where things were, I think that's a perfect way to present that.
Okay, so is that our next assignment? Is values?
Values is, I mean, if we all feel good about Chris's mission here and everybody aligns on it, I think it encompasses everything. I'd like to just go around the room and just validate that that is the case. I mean, I like it. I think it's an extension of what we have, and it adds just a little bit more detail that I think you're all looking for in regards to how we're going to achieve said vision. But
Mhm.
yeah. It's the
Can I
one
add a
that's-
value? Can I add a value real quick before we go
please.
back to the vision? I'm having a hard time kind of shifting between the mission and the values, but because we're back
Sure.
on the values, I think something that came to mind, and it is financial responsibility or efficiency should be something that we value, or that the public,
Mhm.
when the public thinks of the watershed, I want them to think of financially efficient and cost conscious and
Results oriented.
yes, all of that I think is important
Pareto
to the work that
principle
we do.
also? Pareto principle?
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean, to me,
that's
that's
the-
part.
that's the economic principle, right, referenced, yeah.
That's to me, that is being efficient. So whether you have to say that or not,
So the only thing I ask, Chris, is that if we do that, then are we gonna leave those, you've got many values in your statement, do they stay there, or do they go down in the value section and we just stay with what our plan is to work on over the next 10 years?
Okay,
I
let's-
completely shifted. Yeah, go ahead, Yanni.
Yeah, let's shelf values for a minute, okay? Because I want to extract a mission, and then we're gonna have our vision, our mission, a list. I mean, everyone can chime in regards to just things that they value in regards to this organization or values that we should have. We're gonna keep it simple. That list is going to be, it's the same thing. Like, this is gonna be easier because it's just terms, right? And if we need explanations or sentences to support those particular values, we can certainly incorporate them. But let's stick with mission for now. That's my mistake, and I apologize for just, airing the values out there on the left side. I should have kept that on a different screen while I was just kind of putting them together. But regardless, mission. Let's go around the room, okay? Our mission is to protect and enhance our ecosystems and natural water resources by being leaders in watershed work, leveraging innovation, adaptive management, and education/outreach, empowering our community to be informed and active stewards.
I'll just chime in because it's my statement, and I shared this with you, Yanni. The word education and outreach is a concept. I don't like the words that are being used. Collaboration, the stuff that we already talked about, collaboration and kind of come to mind as maybe a potential replacement, but be curious to see what others have to say about that. Collective response, I don't know.
I would just take off the outreach and use education. The other thing that I think too, if it doesn't make it too bad, it's only two more words, and that's economic principles after adaptive management. Because that's core in our mission. And it addresses that efficiency, money efficiency concept without going into details, but yeah. Good job, Chris.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So let me just be a devil's advocate here. So then we're not gonna be working on flood control. We're not gonna be looking at green space. And we're not gonna do some of the other things we had prioritized in our 10-year plan.
No, to me, I think this broader statement is what we need, and then the details, like what you're presenting, and some of them I had in mind as well, go into, I forget what it's called, but it's that next level down.
Values.
No, not values. No,
Initiatives?
Yeah, like focus or
Initiatives, thank you.
initiatives. Yeah.
initiatives,
Yeah.
yes. And, we
Agreed.
work on a 10-year plan, mandated 10-year plan basis, and so you know, we already have our framework. And so all we
Yeah.
need to do is tell how we're going to do those frameworks, how we're going to accomplish that framework. And that's when we get into more detail, like you're talking about, Steve, is, you know, flooding, that's part of the ecosystem, but flooding issues, control of pollution, assisting local governments in planning their surface water needs and so on. Mhm.
But I thought that the mission statement was talking about what we're gonna do on a day-to-day basis. And what we're gonna do is in the 10-year plan.
At a
And
high
then-
level. You got to
Well,
get
no,
up.
it's not. I mean, flooding is pretty basic and, you know, and then, you know.
That's inclusive.
certain Natural resources, et cetera.
Everything that you, Steve, had included, I think is inclusive in the statement we're working on without
think it's-
listing it out specifically. And I guess that was my approach, was to kind of change the perspective of focusing only on water resources and kind of pull in the pieces of the ecosystem and flood resiliency and wetlands and green space and but in a concise way, I guess.
Mhm.
I think that detail will come, no doubt. I don't think it needs to be here. I think we can incorporate it into milestones or initiatives, things like that, that are a bit more day-to-day oriented. I
Yeah.
still feel like this is broad enough, but it's also very much attached to like the action aspect, right?
Mhm.
Of how we're going to achieve said vision. And
Yeah.
if there's detail, that detail needs to roll up into this pretty seamlessly, and it sounds like it does.
Well, that's like we're talking about, that's the initiative. That's the real work.
Yep.
I thought when we talked about our 10-year plan was our mission statement, that one of the goals of the soil exercise was to get it condensed down. I mean, the mission statement isn't for the board. Well, it is for the board, but we're aligned on that. We got the 10-year plan. I think what it's for is for staff and it's mainly for the community. What are you guys working on? If you want to just put water resources down, that's fine. But I mean, it's a lot
But you
more than
don't-
that in our 10-year plan.
But this is the elevator speech. We're talking about elevator speeches here for mission and vision. And when you want to get down to that detail, that's where the work plans, the detailed work plans. And I think the initiatives is tackling those work items on a global basis too. We're not going to talk about the specific projects. We're going to say flood control, and we're going to say, you know, wetland restoration or whatever it is when we get to those initiatives. And then after that comes the detail of the 10-year plan and the year-to-year work plans with specifics.
I'm fine with moving ahead with what we've got. Let's see how it turns out, especially when we get the values.
Yeah,
I just have one comment I wanted to make. I think Manager Anderson's suggestion about bringing in the economic perspective is a good one. I just feel like there's something missing there. I feel like there should be another adjective in front of economic principles or some sort of conveyance of like fiscal responsibility or cost effective. Like economic principles is too open-ended for me, if that makes sense.
yep,
Well, the Pareto principle is the economic principles. It says that basically that 20% of the results that you're trying, 80% of your results are gonna come from 20% of the projects or activities that you're engaging in. So you're prioritizing where you spend the money for the most.
I think, yeah, but that's too much detail. I think what he's saying is that after adaptive management, financial, financial control through economic principles, something like that, right?
Yeah, correct. There needs to
Okay.
be another adjective in front of economic principles, in my opinion,
Yeah,
or more
Well,
specificity around. And
Yeah.
it is to include the Pareto or the 80-20, but I don't obviously want that in the mission, but the general
think-
public probably isn't gonna relate to that very much.
They aren't, and I think that's more explained down in the when we get to the tactics area, but see what to say. I'm trying to,
Sustainable.
I'm on drugs, everybody, so I can't quite.
Sustainable,
pull the
fiscal
words I-
responsibility, economic viability.
There, I'll give you a
Economic-
couple.
Yeah,
Here's
okay.
something.
Here we go. No, that's not quite right. It's about efficiency. It's about
Efficiency.
financial efficiency using sound economic principles, but you don't want to say all that. So,
About cost efficient principles. Cost efficient economic principles. I don't know.
oh yeah, there you go. That makes sense. Cost efficient economic principles. I know there's another word for it, but can we just fill it in for tonight? It says fiscal guidelines and we can wordsmith it later.
Pull this over really quick.
How about sound economic principles? That shortens it up quite a bit. Does that help?
To me, sound economic principles is good. I think that is a good thing, but it doesn't quite encompass the
Mhm.
efficiency portion of what we're trying to get to, I think.
Okay.
At least that's my opinion, obviously.
I know there's an easier way to say it. I just can't think of it right now.
No, that's totally fine. Okay, so we've got about 10 minutes here.
Yanni, may I share some thoughts?
Yep. Sure.
So I can certainly live with what Chris has written there. I like it tremendously. However, as a board, we've talked about making a big shift in our purpose, our mission. And that is to climate change and flooding. And I agree with what Steve has brought up in preparing our community. And also the Greenway corridor aspect of our mission and purpose. And that is, it's not reflected there. And so I think it's something we need to think about a little bit more. If we need to have that identified in the mission, or just leave it out there because it's not mentioned there now. And that is a big shift for us as a board. I mean, that's, we're going in a new direction. So, I somehow feel that should be reflected there, even though it is, but it's not stated. It's not clear. It's not transparent.
On purpose.
It's not on purpose, but yeah.
No, it is on purpose. It is on purpose to be vague and all inclusive with exactly what you're talking about.
When you talk about to protect and enhance our ecosystems and natural water resources, the bullet points under the how, that's where we get it, or that's where we get into the Greenway corridor, the flood mitigation,
Yeah.
the stream preservation, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's not new to the watersheds thinking. It's something that had to be put behind the drive to clean the waters first. you know, and get our 60 listed lakes or listed lakes delisted. So it was always there, but it wasn't to the forefront. And I agree that the broader statements are appropriate for these vision and mission areas, but like these other things we've been talking about, they can be highlighted when we're talking about the initiatives. So we're switching into an area of different initiatives, but still part of the umbrella of ecosystem sustainability. But
I mean,
I know what Dave is saying about climate change. That's a big buzzword, and lots of money is being put into grants for climate change right now. And I think I don't think we have to work it into these short statements, but we want to highlight it under initiatives. That's for sure.
Sure. That could also be a vision, right? Just constantly combating climate change or something along those lines.
Mhm.
I think it's, we think about this, we want it, we don't want to build a mission that is too granular in its approach that we're just going to have to change this when we make some strong fundamental shifts in the organization. It should be vague enough that this can stand the test of time, right? And go beyond 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10-year plans and still have those plans align with said thing. The plans and the breakdown of it is where a lot of that detail is going to come. And if there's initiatives that we need to bring to the forefront of our conversation, there's marketing strategy that can focus and kind of go deeper on said thing, right? To bring
Right.
it up and kind
Yeah.
of get that buy or that alignment.
Yeah.
But still thinking about how we're going to do this. So, what I think would be helpful, and honestly, my only goal today was really to get the vision stuff done. And I think we're like 90% there, right? I would love to get a little bit more input from the staff. So I'll set that up and get that so we can bring that forth. It'll be an objective vote. That's really it. I think like I said, we're close. And I think once we have mission and values kind of dialed in, we'll be able to very easily and swiftly make a decision on the vision side of things between the two options. So that's a win, and you all should be very proud of that. Regarding next steps, I'm going to take this mission statement because it takes one, right? It takes something that we all stand behind to be able to wordsmith and to dissect and pick apart, right? And challenge to be able to produce something that we are all in great alignment with. Again, I want to just bring back something that was said at the beginning is, let's not let, great get in the way of good here. We want something that feels good. We have multiple other aspects of our plan and our organization that we can bring detail and the specifics into it to make sure that people are aware of it. But I'm going to send this out. Okay, there's 2 versions. I think we all align that there needs to be some voice towards kind of the cost efficiency of what we do, right? And making sure that that's always top of mind through our decision-making processes. But we'll throw this out there. We'll let everybody kind of sit with it for a couple weeks, right? If there's things that need to be said in regards to feedback, it's totally open. My other ask is going to be for each of you to like sit down and come up with 5 to 10 values. Okay. They can be, motivated by the individual. They can be how you perceive the organization. Again, we're going to kind of take this laundry list and start to just kind of dial and consolidate, right? Until we can get something that encapsulates almost everything. Again, there will be compromise in that whole kind of exercise. But my hope is that if we can stand behind a mission here by the next time we meet, and have some buy-in there and excitement behind it, and really slow down and figure out the values piece of it. And then once we have those 3 things together, we can build a really beautiful kind of cohesive document that presents these 3 things that, again, will always be kept top of mind and will be a part of every single conversation we have moving forward when we start diving into kind of the granularity and the detail of planning, etc. But any input, feedback, takeaways. We got a couple minutes here, but I think that that would be good for next steps.
I think I'm comfortable with what you just stated, but I'm smiling because when you talked about good versus great, you're talking to 5 type A's here. So we're always
Listen.
going to be striving for the great.
Yes, I am, that is why I do what I do, and I knew that coming into this, and it is a fun challenge for me, and it's okay. It's totally okay. It's why you're all in the positions that you are.
Mhm.
So.
I just wanted to compliment, Manager Anderson for kind of like, we made a lot of progress without her last time. I feel like she seamlessly transitioned into the conversation very well. I think we were all happy with where we ended last time, but we're kind of concerned that Manager Anderson didn't have any input or feedback or participation. But I think the stars kind of aligned with it, making it seem like she was actually present.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Give me a day or so. We'll get an email out to everybody by the end of the week. I think we are, let's see here. We have some holidays coming up. Good. So we are scheduled and confirmed for the November 12th, Tuesday, same time, same place. I'll get that email out or over to Emily by the end of the week. We'll get that out to everybody. Like I said, in quick summary here, we'll get some feedback from the staff in regards to the vision side of things. We'll get some feedback from all of you in regards to the mission side of things. And then we'll start throwing some darts at the board in regards to the values of the organization. Okay. All right.
And just a question for Emily. Emily, that Washington County document, can you send a link to that to all of us? So we can look at it? Thank you.
It's in your packet, man.
Oh, it's in the packet? Okay. All right, good. We're down at the bottom? No. Okay, I'll look for it. If I have trouble, I'll call you.
The
Okay.
page is there.
I'll email you a link.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you all. Appreciate the collaboration, the honesty. We're making progress here. Feels good.
Thank you, Yanni.
Yeah. Everybody have a wonderful couple weeks.
Good night, everybody.
All the best.
All right, bye, everyone.
We need to adjourn.